Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another PGR reaction. Today we have one requested by Ferox. This is Dancing Tonight, the full version. It is another one by RabbitJ. A very recent name on my radar thanks to the last one I listened to from them, and I loved it, so I'm excited to hear what else they have going on, and I'm excited that Ferox threw this in there and so many people wanted me to get to this, so I will be, and without further ado, let's go! It's already a little funky. Oh yeah, it is. Oh yeah. Crispy vocal production. I love that this is how they play instruments in the game. Oh, God. What a vibe. Great halftime moment. Hell yeah. Oh, I've got to play this one on the drums. This is too fun. It's apparently how they do every job. Oh, great delay. I just can't help it. I'm trying to stop moving, but I can't. I gotta keep going. I love RabbitJ. The production value, so great. But also just the pure understanding of what makes funk good. And modernizing a little bit. God, you really can't help but move. Oh. That bass riff there too. What a staircase. There's really not much to say so far, aside from me just vibing. I mean, there are things I want to say, but I'll wait. I just want to vibe. Oh, man. Yeah, RabbitJ might be my favorite producer for this game now. Like that, it's so good. It's so good. So I could keep things simple and just say how fun the song is, how much of a banger it is because of the funk vibe that it gives off and just the raw understanding of that, but I want to specifically pick apart one thing that makes RabbitJ a great producer in that scene specifically. Funk as a genre is a very rooted, down-to-earth genre. It is true. It is itself, and it knows exactly what it needs to be, and if you don't follow funk's rules, you're not making funk, you're making whatever lame ass crap you decide to make because you're not listening to what funk wants from you. It's not a one-way street. It is a two-way communication between you and the understanding of funk. I love funk. The reason that I love this song is mostly because I love funk. Sure, but also RabbitJ knows how to listen to funk and understand what is required of funk. One of the most important things ever, and I will stress this till the day I die, in funk will always be the bass guitar. And if you do not get that down, you will not get funk right. You have to have the groove, you have to have the flow, you have to be able to slap, pluck, and fuck your way out of funk. It is such an important aspect of funk in general, and RabbitJ nails it. The reason RabbitJ nails it is because he's, at least from what I can tell, utilizing an actual bass and not just a sample of a bass. There is definitely good samplings of bass guitars out there. I've heard some great bass samples, but there's usually a texture specific when you're using the acoustic version of an instrument that you cannot, no matter how hard you try or how good you are at producing, replicate that texture and that tactility in a program. It just will not happen. It's the reason you can almost always tell if a real drummer is playing by how it's written, and you can almost always tell when a real guitarist is playing by how it's played. I wouldn't call it the aspect of human error, I would call it the aspect of human creativity. The feel is something that is impossible to just throw into a program, hit go, and get that. Again, there are people who get really, really close with their programming and pay close enough attention that they can mimic that in a way. But I do not believe that RabbitJ does that. I believe RabbitJ either plays the bass themselves very well, or they hired somebody, brought somebody in to play the bass parts, because that is the root of this entire song. The other stuff in there could have all been fake. Obviously, most of the samplings in there, like the horns, probably just samples, stuff that you get out of a pack somewhere. But those are ornamental, frankly, relatively irrelevant to the root of the song and the music itself, the drums and the bass. But the bass is really what RabbitJ focused on, because this is a dance hybrid. It's not straight up funk. If you were to do straight up funk and then you had fake drums in there, you'd be able to tell. You'd be able to tell somebody isn't playing right. But since this is largely a dance funk hybrid, you can get away with the programmed drums, or what I feel like are programmed drums in this. Again, you're kind of losing a little bit of that human aspect in the drums here. It's just a dance groove, but that's perfectly fine. It definitely works for this song, but he kept the bass. And the bass is the only reason that the funk aspect of this song works so well. And the reason that he pulled it off is because he stayed true and listened to funk as a genre and got it. He didn't try to replicate funk, he made funk. But then he did all of his other stuff to it to make it a little bit more dancey, a little bit more upbeat and fun. Again, perfectly valid. But he listened to funk, and funk listened back and nodded in agreeance. He is one with the funk. And the way he wrote this reminded me a lot of Bradio. For those who don't know Bradio, if you know the Death Parade opening, you know Bradio. They've done some stuff recently, but the names of the songs in the anime aren't really popping it in my head right now. But point is, they're a Japanese funk group. They're really fun, but I want to compare their old stuff to their new stuff. I'm not going to be bringing up examples. I'm just going to be talking about how that changed and how this relates to it all. So originally they had a drummer who was part of the band. He was around, but at some point, I think in the mid to late 2010s, he decided to leave the band to spend time with his family. Whatever, that happens. You know, life is life. Go do your thing. That's much more important. The band moved on. They just had 3 members from there. It was the bassist, the guitarist, and the singer, and they just kind of started using whoever was available for drums. I could also tell at one point that they had just kind of used pre-made drum assets and samples for their drums instead of just having a player. They've since, I think, adjusted to using a real player again, but especially in their most recent song, I feel like they use somebody who's more used to rock than funk, because there's definitely a vibe difference. Like, it sounded a little bit too heavy for what I would hear as funk, and that's fine. That is their music to make. They can do that. But as a result, you can feel a shift in the genre. And that's what I mean when I say when you need to do funk, you need to listen to funk and funk will listen back. Because if you take a step away, it is pretty obvious to anybody who loves funk as much as I do. In that case, I felt like the original drummer leaving, he just left, and it was like, okay, they'll make some more music. And then I could tell that it was a little bit more processed, that their drums were a little bit safer. There was less of a flow to them. They weren't necessarily bad, but you could definitely tell there was something a little more produced about it than before. The organic energy of the player had left the building, and it's likely because they were either using programmed drums and doing it themselves, or hiring a session drummer who's really not versed in funk, and it sounded a little bit more poppy. That kind of worked for that era of theirs, and now, again, they're kind of moving into a different sort of sound, kind of an adjacent feeling that feels a little bit more rock influenced, and I feel like the drummer in their most recent song has a much more like rock to metal background in their play than the original drummer, who was just straight up vibe, straight up funk, and he had the flow to go with it. So when RabbitJ makes a song like this that's just insanely funk, but also fun like dance, and it brings back memories of listening to Bradio through all of that transitioning and hearing those variances and just kind of getting it and understanding what does and doesn't work. This is also why I always encourage you to listen to music really closely, analyze it yourself, listen to it a few times, listen to a bunch of genres, because there are so many things that so many genres do that are so genre specific, even to the player. Like, I play drums a little bit more like a jazz player and a rock player would, somewhere in that hybrid, because that's more my thing. Whereas other people can't play what I play as fluidly because they play metal exclusively or they play jazz exclusively. And while we're all good in our own zones and our own niches, there's definitely a vibe that you lose when you lose a person in a band and you have to change them and change the sound of the music. And much like you can tell it when a drummer leaves a band, you can tell it when a bassist leaves a band, especially in stuff that's really reliant on it, like funk, or guitar, especially guitar for like main rock bands and stuff. If the guitarist leaves and they have to bring somebody else on, you can almost immediately, like next song release, next album release, tell that the overall production sounds different, the songwriting is slightly different because there's a different person in charge of that. And that's very much the case here. I can tell that this is organic because it feels organic. He's got the slaps in there, he's got the plucks in there, he's going to town. It's awesome. I love it. And I love RabbitJ. This has become a yap fest about funk and how funk works. And for those of you who are still here, tell me how much you love funk in the comments. Don't like let anybody else know about this. Just say something about funk down in the comments. I want to see how many people actually get this far into the yap session, because I usually don't go this far on one specific topic. But for those of you with strong wills who have been listening to me yap for the past like 10 minutes, you deserve to say something, and we're gonna have our little like club here about how funk is awesome. Like, let's talk about funk down in the comments, all right? But I have yapped long enough, so I'm gonna end the video here. So thank you all so very much for watching and listening to me yap. If you enjoyed this and you have something else you want me to get to from PGR, please leave in the comments below. I've come to love this producer, especially if you have any more of their works in here, or just any other song. I have a lot to get to, I know, so let me know what those are. And of course, if you just like this video and you want to follow me and support me for more stuff in the future, you know how to do all that, and I will see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!